Welcome to an exciting section of this Getting Started with Dreamweaver video series. My name is Robert Farrell, Adobe Guru. Okay, so I'm going to share with you my techniques for giving your pages class. Now, not style or aesthetic class, but class as in class, rules with class, tags. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to do something a little different that you probably haven't seen in some of my previous videos. We're going to start with no content, and we're not going to even type. We're going to make some CSS rules before we actually make any content. Now, I already have set up, which you should already know this by now, I already set up the asterisk tag, the body tag, and the paragraph tag. That's the only thing I have set up for my rules rather. Now, what I do want to set up is I'm going to go here and make a new CSS rule, and of course we want to make a compound rule. Now, compound rule simply implies that it's a rule of more than one selector. So if you're doing more than one selector, say the H tag, H1 inside of a branding tag as an example, that'd be an example of a compound rule. So the compound rule that I want to create right now is simply compound rule for header, followed by a comma. Then we're going to follow that by the nav tag, followed by a comma. And again, this is HTML5 tags, HTML5 tags. So your document should be set to an HTML5 parameter. So header nav followed by the section tag, followed by the article tag. And again, any tag selector that you want to do a combination of, which basically is what compound means, you'd always follow that with a comma, followed by an aside tag. Now the footer tag will do totally different from these set of rules, but the only thing I want to set up here for the header, nav, section, article, and aside is I just want to do a few things. I'm going to hit OK. Now, for those of you that are new to this and haven't experienced the HTML5 parameters, by default the HTML5 tags are not set to block level element, which means they're not going to expand the entire width of the page. So what I would typically do with header, nav, section, article, and aside is we're going to define this as a block level element. So we're going to come up here to category of block and simply select block. Now, in addition to that, I want to set the parameters to make this a responsive design. So what do I mean by that? Well, responsive design is basically going to say that I want this to be in percentages. Therefore, if I reduce the size of my web page, depending on the device, iPad, iPhone, any kind of smartphone, etc., I want this to proportionally reduce. So by default, any one of these tags, header, nav, section, article, aside, is going to be set to be 100%. Now, in addition to that, we're going to float all those tags. If I have a header, nav, section, article, or aside tag, we want them to float to the left, and we want them to clear to the left. In addition to that, I want to have, if I'm going to stack a header on top of a nav on top of a section, I want that to be separated from the bottom with 20 pixels. Now, by default, this defaults to pixels. Now, something I want to share with you is responsive design doesn't mean up and down, it means left and right. That's all I'm concerned about. My left and right design needs to be flexible with the percentage. The top and bottom could still go vertically, could still be separated with pixels. So the responsive design in percentages is simply left and right or width. So I just want to be very clear about that. Now, what I've done here is I set the rules before I even have content. Now, there's two different ways you can do this. If you want to do the content first, then create the rules, totally your call, totally up to you. I just want to share with you the flexibility that it really doesn't matter what direction you started. Okay, so we're going to work with class rules and class tags. But before we do this, we're just going to build our basic bread and butter scope and sequence for our site. So we're going to start out with the word header. Now again, this is my own personal private technique and it works like a charm. We're going to type in header, space, then we're going to type nav, space, then we're going to type in section, space, article, space. Now, for those of you that are new to this, this is just kind of a repeat, space, and footer. Now, notice we don't have, first of all, it helps to spell footer the correct way, but we don't have a footer rule, and that's basically okay right now because we're going to create that in a subsequent video. Now, what I want to share with you, and this will kind of really help your thinking with working with HTML5 and Dreamweaver and markup. So I've said this in many videos before, but I just want to really drive this point home because this really, really helps to make you a better developer. Do not confuse the tag. So right now, in fact, the only tag I have right now is the body tag. So everything's inside the body tag. Now I do have a body rule. So don't confuse the tags with the rules. Right now, these are not applying to these because this is not the header tag or the nav tag. We're going to do that in just a second. But I just want to share with you, don't confuse the tags with the rules. So if I go to code view for a second, you will see the only tag I have on my entire page is the body tag. I don't have a paragraph tag. I don't have a header tag. None of those tags exist. The only thing I have is a body tag and some rules. So I want to be very, very clear about that. Now, to start building our site, before we get into building with classes, you have to walk before you can run. So what I want to do here is I'm going to double click header. And this is something I've done in many other videos, but I just want to drive this point home. This way it becomes second thinking. It has to be part of your thinking, your vernacular, your understanding. So I'm going to double click the word header. And if I copy that under the edit menu, of course, copy, Command C Macintosh, Control C Windows, I can simply Command T to surround that selected piece of content with a tag. And the tag we're going to surround it with, of course, is paste. Copy, paste. Again, Command T Macintosh, Control T is Quick Tag Editor. Now, if you're watching this on Udemy, I highly suggest in Udemy there's a little space over here to the right that you can write notes to yourself. So I highly suggest you take advantage of that. Now, watch what happens. The second I hit the return key twice, because of a rule for that, it follows the rule for header. Pretty cool. So we have a rule for that right here. Now I'm going to do nav. Double click, copy, Command C, Command T, and paste. Turn key once, twice. So the reason that this is blocking out the way it is because I have rules for those tags. It's not affecting this and this and this because it's not been tagged yet. It's simply called section, and it's called article, and it's called aside, but there's no tag for it. And again, if you go to code, you'll see that this has not been tagged. This has been tagged, but this is not. So I just really want to drive that message home. Now the next step is a little bit more finesse here. I want to put the article tag inside the section tag. Then the article tag will be inside its own article tag. So how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to double click section, copy that, Command C, then select both article and section. Select them both, so therefore when I Command T, Quick Tag Editor, I can surround them both with section. Return once, return twice. Now I want to take article and put it inside of its own tag. How do I do that? The same way I've done before. Double click. In order to effect, we need to select. Copy, Command C, Command T for Quick Tag Editor, Control T for Windows, and paste. Now again, unfortunately, based on the Dreamweaver interface, you have to hit this twice. We'll do the same thing for the aside. Copy, Command T, paste, return key once. And let's do a tag for footer. Copy, Command T, Control T for Windows, and paste. So I have successfully, the advantage of using copying and paste, by the way, guys, it's the oldest trick in the book. I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. Okay, so if I spelled it correctly the first time, which it looks like I have, I can now just copy and paste. Now I don't have a rule for footer, so let's create a rule for footer. So I'm going to select the tag and make a rule. Of course, previous to any other video you've seen on either YouTube or Udemy, in order to affect the tag, we need to select the tag. Makes sense to me. I come over here and make a new CSS rule. And we're simply going to say tag, you're it. We're just doing the simple footer tag. Now keep in mind, these are not div tags. These are HTML5 tags. And I hit OK. Now again, similar to what I've done in previous videos, I want this to vertically be in the center. So we're just going to change the height of this to say 50 pixels. Therefore, it will put the text vertically in the center. We're also going to change the color of the type to white. And we're going to make this, typically you would make your footer smaller than the body. So the body we set up to 1M. We did that before I started the video. I just set up my basic bread and butter rules. So we're going to set this to 0.8 Ms, which is basically a 20% reduction. Because if the body tag is set to 1M, we're going to set this to 8 Ms. We're going to go to background and we're going to change this to red, we're going to go to the category of block and do two things. First of all, selecting block would help. We're going to display this as a block of type, similar to what we did in this rule structure over here, where you need to set the HTML5 to be a block of type because it doesn't default to that. We're also going to go into the same category of block and text align this to the center. Now, watch what happens here. If I hit the apply option, okay, footer is taking up the space of the aside tag. Now, why is it doing that? Now, for those of you that know the answer to the question, well, obviously it's because under the category of box, see, footer can't see aside because footer doesn't have a float. Now, footer does not need to have a float, by the way. Okay, footer does not have a float, nor does footer need a float. But footer needs to clear the space of the aside. So based on these choices, and this all comes down to choices, guys, I need to clear a left float. So footer needs to clear the float that it's above. That footer is underneath the aside tag. So if I hit the apply option, all is right with the universe. Now in closing, and again, there's no order into which to do this, but everything here should be inside of some kind of container tag, which we call the wrapper tag. So how do we do that? Now we already have it built. So a very simple way to do this, in order to affect the content, of course, we need to select the content. So we're going to select the entire body content, and with layout selected, incidentally, I am in classic mode. If you're not in classic mode, I highly suggest that you flip the classic mode. It's much more intuitive, it's much more easier to comprehend and understand. And the only two palettes we have here, in addition to the insert palette and the properties palette, the only two palettes we have up are the CSS styles and the CSS transitions, which is, of course, is under the window menu. Okay, so in order to affect body, we need to select body. And based on these choices, we're going to insert a wrapper, W-R-A-P-P-E-R, not R-A-P-P-E-R, as in gift wrapping, not as in yo-yo wrapper. And we're going to OK. Now, we don't have a rule for the wrapper. So in order to affect the wrapper, we need to select the wrapper. So I'm going to do something that perhaps some of you have not seen before. I'm going to basically make a rule for the wrapper div tag, ID wrapper. IDs always start with a pound symbol. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to make the width of this be 100%. But we only want the wrapper to be 960 pixels wide by default for desktop. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to set the width of this to be 100%, and the margin is going to be to the right, automatic, and to the left, automatic. Now, for those of you that have seen my videos before, of course, this is going to put automatically in the center. Okay, so I'm going to hit the apply option. Now, nothing visually is going to change because we haven't really done anything with the wrapper parameters. It's still 100% width. But here's what I want to do. First of all, I want to put wrapper underneath header. Make a change, save a change. Then, in my CSS parameters, you need to expand this window. And here's where we set the wrapper parameter to 960 pixels. Now, again, by default, the width of the wrapper, double click. This information here is the same information that you'll find right here. So by default, for flexible responsive design, the wrapper is set to 100% width. But I want to go and add a property. And the property that I want to add, and I want to just put my cursor someplace in here. Once your cursor is someplace in here, I can simply type in max width. And the max width we're going to make 960. Now, a couple of students have emailed me to say that they're not seeing this by default. Well, that's true. If you're not working in CS6, CS6 has the software capabilities of viewing your wrapper maximum width inside this window. But if you're in CS5 or CS5.5, you have to go to live view in order to see this happen. So that's another reason to upgrade the CS6. Now, for those of you that say, well, how come you don't have videos on CS5 and 6? Well, I don't work backwards. I work forwards, guys. You should too. You should invest into a modern tool set. Now, for those of you that say, well, I'm on a budget, I have a lot of money, well, that's nonsense because Adobe enables you to get just Dreamweaver alone for 20 bucks a month. Now, for those of you that are saying, well, I don't have 20 bucks a month to spend, then you know what? You're in the wrong business. If you can't afford $20 a month for your skill set on top of that, you're not paying the 20 bucks a month. The client's paying 20 bucks a month. So when you build somebody's website, charge them the 20 bucks a month. Put that into the whole year's budget. Okay, so that's my 50 cents on that. So you should definitely invest into your tool set. So in our next video, we will start building the rest of the site and get into how class tags are the way to build a proper site and how class tags become very, very flexible for building your website. Talk to you in the next video.